Where do we start? Why don't you tell me about your parents?
Me?
Sure.
They were born in a little town in north central Italy, I'd say northern Italy. A little town called Tornolo, up in the mountains. My father was the first one to come to the States, and unfortunately, I never asked him how he got here. But he must have had a sponsor. I think you had to have a sponsor. I don't, well, maybe you came on your own. But he had a sister who worked as a maid on the Bolognese estate, winery estate, in Highland, New York, overlooking the Hudson River. And there was a woman there who was the chef, the cook, the chef. So I surmised that those two women came together. My father's sister was there, and maybe that's how he got there. My mother came later with Aunt Teresa. I remember, you probably met her.
Zia Teresa.
Pardon?
Zia Teresa.
Yes, good, good. So that's my parents. So that's it.
And how did they meet? Was your
I don't know if they knew each other in Italy, but my aunt and my mother went to Brooklyn, and my father went down there. And I think there was somebody, my mother once told me, somebody interested in my mother, some man, and I don't think she was interested in him, but maybe she was interested in my father. He was interested in her, and they got married.
Where were they married?
That's a good question. Probably in Brooklyn, and then moved to Highland, moved to the winery, to the Bolognese.
right? And tell me the story about them.
You know,
working
let me
there.
go back to my mother though. When we watched the program on immigrants coming to this country, she didn't come through New York. She came through Boston. And when she was being interviewed, they suspected that maybe she had a cold or a cough or something. And she thought to herself, are they going to let me enter this country or send me back? But whatever happened, she got in, so. Okay, what else?
About them working during the Depression and saving money for their farm.
Oh, you want all that? Okay, well, they worked there on this farm, grape winery estate. And I have a picture of, when did they start there? Maybe early 1920. And so let's move on to the, what was it called when liquor was banned?
Prohibition.
During Prohibition. You know, when I think about it, my dad, he had a job because they still made wine. Now, they could have said maybe they made wine for the church, but I have a feeling they made wine and shipped it to New York to the what?
Speakeasies.
Speakeasies. Because I have a picture of my brother with a Great Dane, and they had at least 4 or 5, 6 of those dogs there, Great Danes. So then in 1938, my father then became manager of this place. And whatever happened, I think they brought in somebody else, I don't know. He left, and he wanted to get his own farm piece of property. My mother didn't want it because she knew what the work would be. But so here we are, still in the Depression, 1938. They had saved $18,000. That's what they bought this farm for there in Middle Hope. It was really a broken down farm. And I remember they got a mortgage, and as I recall, it was $12,000. Also, my father's brother, who was, remember Rosemary, my cousin Rosemary, was her father, and his wife Martha, and cousin Rosemary came there too. And I think that Zio Baffo, he was called, was put in $4,000. And they had worked together for a number of years, but then my uncle wanted out. He wanted his own place, and he bought a small farm in Milton, New York. So my dad, gave him back his money, and he left. But it was a struggle for 2 years, and not until the war that they were able to do okay.
What about your parents,
Didn't
Dad?
tell about the fact that the war had made a demand for the apples.
Well, it made it, well, the war, you couldn't grow enough food,
Couldn't grow enough.
so there we are.
Mhm.
What about your parents, Dad?
Well, my father was the youngest of 4 children with my grandfather Hayes and his wife, grandmother Hayes had, and my mother was the oldest of 3 children her mother and father had. They were, my grandfather Spratley worked for the Columbus Journal. He ran the night edition of it. Grandma Spratley took care of the kids, and when we were young, she took care of some of us too, and helped my mother raising our family. My family wound up being 11 children. I was the oldest one. And over the years, there were 7 boys and 4 girls, and over the years, 4 of the boys have died and 2 of the girls. So dozens of nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews. My mother and dad met in high school in Columbus, and went to Kentucky and got married. Couldn't get married in Ohio under 18. They were 17.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And what did your dad do for a living?
Well, Dad worked hard at trying to find something that he could keep working at. During the Depression, it was very hard, and he did. I can recall he drove a bakery truck for one of the local bakeries for a few months. He worked somebody else painting, and decided he could paint, and he learned how to hang wallpaper, and that's what he did most of the rest of his life, was painting and hanging wallpaper. Interior decorating. That was something I learned from him. And we was able
And
to
I
use.
learned from you.
Let's see. What else would you like? I mean,
Well, could I interrupt?
Yes?
I think what's interesting about your family, Jim, is when they came here, because they came here in the early days and part of the Revolutionary War, because I say to my friends who are interested, Kathy could be daughters of the American Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, but on my side of the family, she could be daughters of the Ellis Islanders. Pretty good.
Yes. What were you saying this morning about the first James Hayes in
Well,
the colonies?
the first James Hayes was a soldier in the Revolution, and the Revolutionary soldiers were given land grants in what was called the Northwest Ohio Territory, and that's how they got a farm in central Ohio, where the next James Hayes was born, the next Dallas Hayes, next James Wybrant Hayes, all born there around an area called Washington Courthouse. To this day, there's a Hayes Road there, and a little one-room schoolhouse that they built on the farm there
Right.
for the local children, the children of the people that worked on their farm. They had a farm called, the Hazelnut. they were called Hazel Dell, is what they called it, Hazel Dell. And they had a grove of hazelnut trees there.
And the picture of the horse Revolver that I have now belonged to
James
Ellis-
Hayes.
Ellis
no,
Hayes' father, right?
Yeah, James Wybrant Hayes. And it was world champion trotter, Revolver. Lived for many years, sired many others.
My memories include great granddad Hayes always having a candy dish
Yeah,
Blue glass candy dish.
that we kids could raid.
yeah.
I think didn't great grandma Spratley have a color TV long before they were perfected, as I recall.
I don't
I
remember.
don't remember that.
Yeah.
She might have, but,
Grandfather Spratley came over from Leeds, England, when he was a kid, and came to Columbus with somebody else connected. I think it was an older brother, and that's how he got started there.
but you know, going back to how your parent or great James got that land grant, the famous author historical, David McCullough, is now writing a book on the Northwest, was it the Northwest Territory at the time?
Yes,
And how apparently they were supposed to be, I mean, I think those that fought in the Revolutionary War were to be paid. There was no money,
Right.
so they were given land.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting when I think he's in the process of researching and writing. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see.
And what about you two? How did you two meet?
Well, I was stationed at the Army Prep School at Stewart Air Force Base outside of Newburgh, New York. And one weekend, we were in town, and a couple people stopped, and we stopped in a bar and had a drink, and there was this one girl there was going with a friend of mine from the prep school. And we talked a minute, and she said, I got a girlfriend you ought to meet. And that was history.
I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You know what's funny about it? I mean, you know where the farm was? It was between
Newburgh and Milton.
Newburgh and Marlboro,
yeah.
Right.
right up on 9W.
Yep.
And Dad came there in a cab. I said, did you talk to me and get directions? You
Yes.
must have.
You told
How do
me on
you-
the phone how to get there.
How'd you find this place, you know? Isn't that funny?
But
But then, we continued to date because I could drive my brother's car and pick him up, you know, at Stewart Field. I have to laugh about that.
and
I
we,
must have liked you, Jim, to do that.
you did, we fell in love, and she kept seeing me for 4 years.
When did you enter Lady Cliff? Was it
When he entered
West Point?
West Point.
Mhm.
I had a friend who, you know, the Barberos, Margaret, her sister, younger sister, wanted to go to school. And so she kind of, I don't know whether she talked me into it or I said, oh, okay, fine. So we were day hops, although part of the time, I think almost one semester, I just stayed there, maybe in the winter, I don't know. But I was intrigued because, you know, I mean, when you think of West Point and how it's configured now, I could enter that back gate, drive through the center of it, go out the back gate, you know, and up around the old Mount Storm King.
Yep.
Not anymore. In fact, I think that back gate is closed, isn't
Yeah.
it?
A lot of times.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So,
No, I don't think I ever knew. What did you study at Lady Cliff?
what did I study? Oh my gosh. Just those basic, you know, or maybe a literature course.
Before that,
Italian, maybe a religion course, because it was a small Catholic women's college at the
Right.
time. I think later it became like so many of the schools, it became co-ed. And then I never knew really what happened to those poor St. Joseph's sisters, you know, whether they couldn't compete anymore with other schools, or just maybe the nuns weren't there to staff it, just sort of gave up and sold it out. Or maybe West Point made them a good offer, because you know what it is now.
Right.
And the living quarters for the students are now where a lot of the dates stay, because they're a hotel, although there are some other hotels on the post now.
Hmm.
But anyway, I think a lot of the young girls, the drags we call them, they stay in those quarters.
And what other memories do you have of that time?
well, being as I was in the Army for a career, we got to visit a lot of different places.
I meant your time at West Point, dating Mom. What other memories do you have of that time?
Well, it was, I think I'm probably the only guy there that dragged the same girl every weekend for 4 years.
Well, Dad says every weekend, but I don't think it was every
Every
weekend.
weekend. I don't know one you missed.
Well, in the summertime, it certainly wasn't, you know, you were gone part of the time.
When,
Although-
I said when I was there.
Yeah. I must have been sort of crazy to drive it in the winter. Drop him off at, what time did you have to sign in, 10, 11?
Yeah,
Crazy in Love.
well,
Yeah, and then to drive home by myself, you know. Sometimes I stayed over. And I think wasn't I there one weekend when you were in the Glee Club? And who headed that? Who was the
Bill
officer
Rayford. Oh, no,
in charge? But anyway,
yeah.
it was snowing. And she said to me, Lee, why don't you can stay with us tonight? So I stayed over in their quarters and went home the next day.
It was a
Drove
captain.
home the next day.
And what was the story you told this weekend about getting married?
Oh, gosh, that was interesting. So when Dad and I decided to get married, I went to our local in Newburgh. Newburgh was an interesting little Hudson Valley town. It was ethnic.
And ruining your,
And there was, I remember there was the church for Italian families, the church for the Irish family, there were I don't know if there was a Polish church, certainly was. Anyway, so we belonged to this Italian parish. What was the name of it? Do you remember? I can't remember. the
it was
name.
St. Joseph,
Pardon?
St. Joseph.
I don't think
I
so.
thought you
But
did.
anyway, so I went to the priest and I said, Father, I'd like to make arrangements for marriage. And I said, however, I said, my husband is Protestant. And he said to me, oh, you can't get married in the church. And I said, well, I guess then I'll leave the church. And he said, well, you can get married in the parish, in the rectory, in the rectory. And I thought about that. And Dad suggested that we think about the chapel at West Point.
I told her, I said, Army chaplains are not that bad, including the Catholic chaplain. Let's talk to him, and I did. And we were married in a lovely service at the Catholic chapel at West Point.
Where'd you go for your honeymoon?
We went up the, where was it, Jim? It was
Lake Placid.
in the Adirondacks, you know. Oh, tell them about how you went for a swim.
First morning after we got there, I said, well, they got a pier and a diving board and
Lovely lake.
a beautiful lake. And I went out and dove in there, and you could see a cartoon trying to get out of the water fast enough. That was the coldest water I ever swam in.
Yeah,
In June, was it?
early June, yeah.
Wasn't warmed up enough, right?
Yeah.
So then after that, we came back home. You had a month's leave, right?
Yeah,
We drove to Ohio, didn't we?
we
drive?
had 2 months leave,
Did you have? Oh
two,
my
2
gosh.
months graduation leave.
Anyway, then we went to,
Columbus,
but meanwhile, it's not the first time I met your family, because I think after we were engaged, it was summertime, you were home. I got on a train and went to visit your family. I'm just thinking, I went the train up the Hudson, across New York State. How did I get to Ohio? Down?
You transferred to the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yeah, but I don't think I went down to Pennsylvania to get on a train. I think I went up through New York State. Anyway, so I got there, and it was your grandmother, Spratley, who hosted me, so to speak. I stayed with them. I can't remember how long I stayed, Jim, maybe a week.
Mm-hmm.
Went back home. And, but then after our honeymoon, it was your parents, your grandparents, your sister Roberta, and your brother Bill and his wife Bonnie that came to our wedding.
Yeah.
And we all stayed in that old house, the big house. And I can remember your grandmother, Spratley, pressing my clothes that I was going to take on my honeymoon. I remember my mother cooking food for this, I mean, that was great, really, when you think about it.
Mhm.
They didn't have to stay in a motel or a hotel
Right.
someplace, they
Yeah.
stayed with us. And you should tell them the funny part, Jim, with your Uncle Bill, when you, they were there a couple of days before our marriage, but didn't you, take your brother Bill to New
Oh,
York?
yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
I said we could go down to New York City. Have you ever been there? And he said, no. Oh, I said, I think you ought to see New York City. We'll go down there and stay a couple nights and then come back. By then, the
I don't-
wedding will take
I
place.
thought you just went for the day, or, no,
No,
you
no.
probably were there at
We
night.
stayed there overnight, yeah.
But I think your dad wanted to go with you, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did he go with you?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it was just the
No,
two?
I'm sorry.
I think
He
you
went, and he and Mom stayed in the hotel, but he said, where you're going? I said, we're going out. And Dad said, well, I'll go with you. I said, no, we'll be back shortly. And I wanted Bill, being the party guy, he hesitated. I said, I'm going to take you to a place where you can't believe what,
Down in the village?
down in the village.
But you know, Jim, I really, I don't think the women went. I don't think Aunt Bonnie or your mother or I went with you. You just went with your brother Bill and I think your dad.
Yes,
Yeah,
No.
okay.
Dad didn't go, just Bill and I went. And we went to
Nick's?
Nick's in the village. And I remember Bill always talking about doing that. And he said there were some very interesting people there. He said there was Edward G. Robinson, and he was there with his daughter. And there was Sam Jaffe, and he had his daughter there.
Oh, gosh.
And they would end up the evening doing The Saints Go Marching In. And everybody'd get up and dance to
And
that.
Congo to,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Bill just thought that was.
You know, I mean, he asked a good question about what did we do all those years at West Point. I think I came down on a Saturday night, if there might have been a concert on, or we went to the movies,
Yeah,
and then they always had the dances, whether it was the hop or the ring hop or
Right.
something like that. And I must have stayed over because then you had to get dressed, you had to wear a gown, and a gown and white gloves and the whole shebang at
Right.
that point. So, and then, this is a good story. It was winter, and it was kind of snowy, it was snow on the road, and we were parked up by the stadium. You and I in the front, and your classmate Pete and his date, I can't remember who it was,
That
they were
was-
in the back seat of the car.
the one who became his wife.
And of course, we're having a good time in the car. And then finally, we realized, oh my gosh, it's late, we're gonna be late. So I started the car, it wouldn't move.
Yeah,
So the two of them got out and pushed the car
till we got it started, you had to get it engaged.
So I got down the hill, dropped them off, and when you reported, what did they say to you?
Oh, there was the CQ was out on the stoops there in South area. And Pete and I running up the stoops there, and he says, "Don't need to hurry, guys." He said, "You're late."
I thought that
So
was so funny.
we wound up on the area for the next couple of weeks,
So
doing
that,
punishment tours.
That must have like been one of the times when she was with me, and I certainly didn't go home, we probably stayed overnight
Sure.
at the hotel. So we had the next day together, but,
And then your first assignment after that summer leave was,
The first assignment was to Fort Benning.
no, Fort Belvoir, a basic course.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry, you're right. First you had to go to the basic course. Went to Fort Belvoir for the basic course, and then we went to,
do you remember where you lived on Belfour?
No, we didn't live on Belvoir. There was no housing for basic, I don't think. I think
No.
you rented an apartment. We rented an apartment from a congressman from New England in Arlington.
and
Those years, Congress did not, they went home in the summer. Can you imagine that?
it was great. They didn't have air conditioning in the Capitol.
So
And
they went home.
it was the best thing that people
That's why they
could,
still have an August recess. I mean, that's where it came from,
well,
Oh,
but
maybe. Oh, that wasn't August, it was
all
July.
summer. Yeah.
July and August, yeah.
But I think Ann would get a kick out of this, because Dad would go to Belvoir. I'd get on the bus in Arlington and go into DC, and I'd go to Garfinkel's. Is there still a Garfinkel's? I don't think so. In other words, in DC, the lovely shops that were
Right.
there.
Right.
you know.
And then after that, all regular officers became a new requirement, they had to be trained as paratroopers. So we went to Fort Benning to go to jump school. And we rented a place down there.
Well, oh my God, should I tell them the story of what happened when we were to move to Fort Benning, Georgia?
Yeah,
Housing was really tight, so Dad got us a small apartment, so we had that. So he says to me, the movers are coming on Monday, so get together, you know, what you want to, for them to take. They didn't have a lot, but there was some. But I kept putting aside what we could take in the car. Only the movers came and left, and then when we started.
she started showing me all this stuff and emptying drawers and pulling. I
And
said,
then-
"Where did this come from?" You know,
And then when we start packing the car,
I
It
said,
fit.
I told her, "We're oversubscribed. The back seat's full, the floor's full, the trunk's full." And I
So-
said, "I'm going down and rent a trailer."
Can you believe it?
And we rented a trailer and we darn near filled it.
So we got to this little there was row houses got in this apartment. You open the door, think I told you this. Cockroaches all over the place. Now, this is Georgia, right?
Right.
Summer.
Growing big there.
And I thought, Jen, I can't live in there. Can't go in there. The good thing that we got our stuff in the car and in this, so I don't know whether you tried getting it, there wasn't anything available. There was nothing. We were lucky we had that. So they agreed to bring in one of these bombs, you know.
Mhm.
It may have helped, but,
Yeah, they stayed away until it was nighttime.
so then, I was certainly pregnant with you. And then you were assigned there, I think, and we finally moved. We had a really nice apartment then in Upatoy Terrace.
Right.
New housing
I
area.
was giving housing on post and it was a new.
But
And
this-
I was assigned to 78th Engineers. I was a platoon leader, and due to my previous service before I went in, I got promoted early. So I was a first lieutenant after 6 months, and once again, so we were able to get a little better housing that way. Yeah.
And you were born in Fort Benning, Georgia, in, I'd say, a hospital. It was a converted barracks. It was not a hospital like Belvoir or Walter Reed or anything like that. And our good classmate, who are now both gone, the Metters, Frank and Nancy Metter, she had her daughter there, Kathy, I think her name was
Yes,
Kathy.
Ken.
She had a private room, which wasn't air conditioned. I was in a room with 14 other women with babies, but it was air conditioned. Anyway, that, and you know, that kind of song, and of course Michael was born in Germany. Matt at Rantoul, he was delivered by the flight surgeon. It wasn't until we had Kathy that was born in a hospital in Detroit, you know, that I had an OBGYN who took care of me the whole time. Didn't have that in the Army. You saw him at 3 months, and then you saw him maybe in the 8th month, you know. And whoever was on duty delivered the baby.
Right.
It's not that he came in. Anyway. So what else?
So after Benning,
After Benning,
Went to Germany.
we had to wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks after you had to be that old before,
I think it was 3 months.
was it 3 months? Oh, gosh.
You were
Okay,
3 months.
you know better than I. When enough time had lapsed that they could put you on a flight overseas, then we went to, Wordsmith? No, not,
Pittsburgh?
Herx, outside of Frankfurt.
no. For the flight overseas.
Oh, you
we
went down,
left
was it Maxwell?
No, not Maxwell.
I think it was Maxwell, I mean, it was in Long Island someplace. Would it have been Maxwell, something
No,
like that?
not, Maxwell's in Georgia, in Alabama.
Uh,
Anyway, we went to the airfield there and got on a 4-engine plane going over to Germany. And we had an immediate problem before we took off. Your mother said, I have 4 bottles of formula.
No, I had more than that.
Okay, 6 bottles, bottles of formula that I need to keep cold for my baby son here. And the steward, and this is, you know, as I said, military people running the flight, and the stewardess says, oh, we haven't got room for that. And I said, what do you have in there that you can't put the bottles in there? And she said, well, we have milk and Coke and things like that. I said, bring me as much milk as it takes to get those bottles in there.
Is that what she did, Jim? She finally got it in there.
So she finally came back and said, you don't have to drink all the
You know,
milk.
must have been a direct flight, but it was a long flight. But
Yes, it was.
you had a little sort of bassinet. We were in 3 seats, you were in a bassinet. You, thank the Lord, probably slept the whole time.
You know, 4 propellers going like this and.
Right. Yeah, droning the whole time.
So we
But-
got there and got
Well,
in.
excuse me, before we took off, we're sitting there and everybody's buckling in, and your mother looks out and says, I can't go. I can't go. I said, what do you mean? She says, I'm not flying across the ocean in an airplane with only 2 engines. And I said, honey, on the other side, there's 2 more.
Well, I think it was before we even got on, but, and I thought, what a stupid statement. I think it must have been 100 degrees, and I thought, what am I gonna do, go back home with my parents? It was stupid. Anyway, we got there and got into, an apartment in a housing unit
Herx.
there with, there was a classmate there, Mel and Frida Remus, classmate. So they got us settled in this apartment. But you had enough rank, Jim, that we, shortly after that, were able to get into a German house.
They were still using requisitioned housing, which they used after the war, but were beginning to turn back to
And
the
that,
Germans.
that really was nice because it was a basement, 1st floor, 2nd floor, and then kind of an attic, so it's a big house. And when the guys would go out in the field, the women would come over with their little bassinets or playpens, and we put the kids down and we all play bridge. We went and got a bottle of peach schnapps. And I had a woman who was a refugee from Czechoslovakia, Frau Böhm. She lived down the street in probably a house in one room or something. Did I tell you this?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, she would babysit you. And Frida Remus said to me, "Lee, why are you cleaning your own house?" I said, "Well, I always did. What do you mean?" She said, "You can get somebody to come in and clean for 4 marks. 4 marks was
Wow.
$1.50. $1, maybe $1.
Yeah,
I remember it was $1.50. And after Frau Böhm got to know me, she said, "Mrs. Hayes, your milk comes in those
plastic
cardboard, not plastic, cardboard
plastic
cartons.
covered.
Could you save those for me so I can start my fire in the morning? And when you make coffee in the morning, could you save those coffee grinds for me so I could make some coffee from them?" That's how, we're talking, what, 55, 56? That's how desperate the Germans still were after the war. Why did it take them so long? Because maybe they had the country was destroyed.
Yeah, it's devastating.
Mhm.
Right, World War II was the last great attacks on civil populace as part of the war.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, that's kind of, and then after a year, was it after a year, Jim, that you,
Yes, after a
Worse.
year, a colonel came in from 7th Army headquarters, the engineers section there, and went to see the battalion commander, and then I got a call to come in there, and he'd gone over, they said, to the chart and said, "I'd like to talk to some of your officers. How about Hayes?" And he put in. And he came in and talked to me, and then he left. And Colonel Ray, the
right,
battalion commander, said afterwards, he said, "He came here to see you." He said, "And I don't think you'll be with us long."
What battalion was that?
This is the 299th Engineer Combat
what
Battalion.
Jim,
And what was your job in that battalion?
Well, I started out as a assistant, as well as a,
no, you mean in Turks?
Mm-hmm.
You were a company commander, weren't you, Jim?
no,
Okay,
I started out as a platoon leader, and then the S3 called me in to work with him. I became the assistant S3 of the battalion. And, oh God, I can't think of his name. He was a great guy. He was a World War II retread. He had gotten out of the Army, and then when Korea came along, he got called back in, and he just stayed there to finish up a 20-year. And
Are you
was-
talking about the battalion commander?
I'm talking about the S3,
Oh,
and he was a great guy. He took me under his wing, taught me a lot of stuff.
but Jim, how was it when the battalion commander said to you, he really came to see you, how did he ever get your name? Well, at
Oh.
Stuttgart, I didn't.
I'm not sure, but I think it was once when there was a master sergeant who was checking supply rooms in the different battalions. And he talked to me about something of ours, and that's the only way I can think of somebody.
Well, anyway, we get to Stuttgart, give up this nice house, move into a Bad Cannstatt, right? Move into this apartment,
In Patch Barracks.
and across, we had a dog, we had a boxer, and across the hall are the Millers, a Colonel Miller and his wife and 3 children. they had a boxer. These two dogs would meet in the hall and it was a mayhem. And Jigger was our dog. Every
Yeah.
time somebody came to the dog, baby all over them. I said, Jim, either this dog, because you wanted this dog, but you didn't take him out for a walk or anything. So I said, either this dog goes or I go. So the dog left. I'm sorry, you're sorry. Anyway, so that's where you met the love of your life, unbeknownst at the time.
Right, and, so what, you said it was a colonel from the engineer section at 7th Army. Is that originally where you went, was to the Army Engineer Office?
That's where I was, yes, I went there, and it was very briefly there when I got a call to go over to the headquarters building and see a Captain Tibbetts over there. So I went over, and Captain Tibbetts was the aide to General Clark, Bruce Clark, the CG. And he asked me a couple questions, and then he said, you're going to be the junior aide for General Clark.
Where was Tibbetts going? He was leaving during?
He didn't leave right away, he was going to, but he was still there for several months after we got there, then he left. He was there long enough that when they got married, and you gave loan shoes to his wife.
Oh my God, that was so funny. So Captain Tibbetts, handsome young man. His
West Point.
fiance is in the, oh, was he West Point?
He's
His
West Point.
fiance was in the States. She comes over to, gonna get married. Of course, she had all her dress and clothing and everything else. Didn't have any shoes. So I said to her, you know, I've got a pair of white shoes. Would you like to borrow them? She did. But the best, I suppose, one of the best parts of living in that building was Marie Miller, who lived across the hall, and Eileen Green, who lived downstairs. And I learned so much from them.
They would take her
Oh
shopping
my
in the
goodness.
in the
We would go.
markets.
We would go to the 2:00 shop, and Marie would walk in there. She just had an eye for picking out the one thing that was really a good value so it was really great. But this is what was interesting because you were the aide there for what, about 2 years, Jim?
Yes.
So after some time, I don't know how it came about, but I probably said something to Marie. I ought to have the general and his wife over for dinner. Now, can you imagine, here we are, a lieutenant in a 2-bedroom apartment. But Marie saw me through that. She helped me, you know, we had the dining room table, and then we had a card table. And we asked the Millers, the Greens, the Clarks, and ourselves, so there were 8 of us. And you know, I don't remember what the heck I made, but you know, I'm sure Marie helped me through that.
Yeah.
So, and we had help. We had a young girl. We paid her what, $1 a day, 30 marks a month, $30 a month. You know, that was really nice. Got pregnant with Michael, and he was born there. So I think before you know, this was really interesting because I don't remember how the configuration. It must have been a little bit of hilly country there because we'd get in the car, and where were we going? You were sitting in the front seat in a little bumper chair. It wasn't like today. But we'd come around this hill and you could see a tower. Remember that, Jim?
Yes.
When we came around the hill and you would say, tower, 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 you knew it was coming. It was really interesting.
It was the radio tower for the
Oh, was that it?
Telefunken.
And I think I told the other story when the Americans we went to the commissary, that's where we shopped, but every once in a while you go to a German market because it was always fresh vegetables or something. I think I told you this. we'd go to these stores in our car. To them, I mean, it was a Chevrolet, but to them, it was a big car.
Right.
Maybe what did they have, the little Beetles, the Volkswagen?
Or they walk to the
Yeah,
store.
or they walked. Anyway, we'd go in there and they would wrap our groceries, or I should say vegetables, in paper, in a newspaper. And we would say, don't they have a bag they can put these in? And the comment from the German was, these Americans, they pull up in their big cars, you'd think they would bring a bag in for their groceries. It's two ways.
Germans always carried a little bag.
They, what did we call them, the Bitteschön bags?
Yeah,
Mm,
What does that mean, Bitteschön?
please,
please.
please.
Oh, yes, Bitteschön bag, anyway.
So,
And did you go from, go ahead,
pardon?
go ahead.
So that was working for General Clark, who had been an engineer officer and West Point, was a combined General Staff College course.
Mm,
I mean, the staff and command. I saw how you ran a large staff, a large number, and the command of an entire army. He had 2 corps with 5 divisions at that time,
wow.
2 armored cav, and separate artillery. Another interesting thing was that as the commander of the American Army force there, he had a train car, had belonged to the Germans, and he could use that to go up and down the spine of Germany to visit other units, and it was a very comfortable car.
Right.
You know, one half of it was a kitchen and dining room and lounge, and the other were little staterooms. And getting on that was a real experience. We had another thing that happened too, was that being forward concerned about what was happening with the Russians at all times, we would have unannounced alerts where all units would move to prescribed positions and prepared to fight. And so we had to maintain combat loads of ammunition, shells, uniforms, and,
Wow.
and you carried your pistol home. And if the word came, you got a phone call or a knock on the door, why, off you went to a prescribed place that you would meet. And I found out later how it was done. We went to, the general said, I think we ought to go see 3rd AC, 3rd Armored Cav, up on the border, near Grafton there. I said, okay, made arrangements and we go up there. And he said, wake me up at 5 o'clock or something. So we woke him up and we went, and he got hold of the AC commander, and he went up to the front line there, and then he turned to this young lieutenant, and that was a forward guy in this outpost, and said, alert the 7th Army. And so the word went out from there, and everybody moved out to their alert positions all over Germany. I thought that was an interesting
Yes,
thing, you know. There's a guy I never forgot.
that's right.
You know, I think, oh my goodness, what the other interesting story, this was interesting for Claudia, who loves Elvis Presley, right? Claudia. Elvis Presley came to Germany as a young soldier, right?
Right.
And what did General Clark say
General
about
Clark said, he said, I've got a darn good little soldier up in Frankfurt, and the news people won't let him alone. You know, he said,
Oh, my
he's
goodness.
trying to do a good job. He's a Jeep driver and he's trying to do a good job. And the newspaper people just don't let him do it.
That was Elvis.
Elvis Presley. He said, most famous PFC in my army.
You know, General Clark was a lieutenant general, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
He went on to become four-star
Oh,
general.
did he?
Yeah, and he was commander of forces command in the States, and then went back to Germany as commander-in-chief of Germany.
Do you remember when they were retired and lived in, might have been Arlington?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember that we went over there a few times and
Yes.
swam in their pool?
He'd call up and say, "Bring the kids."
You know?
Yes, no, I remember him. He gave me stuff on leadership,
Yes,
and it was, I can understand what you're saying about how it was working under him would have been a command and staff college course. I get
For
that.
Dad.
This- Yeah.
Dad.
yes,
But
The stuff that he wrote, there's still something he wrote that I still quote. And that is that, orders cannot be given just so that they can be understood. They have to be given so they cannot be misunderstood.
yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, what I remember about them, I don't mean to say they were simple folks. Simple got a lot of meaning to it, the word simple, but they were just kind of unassuming, down-to-earth people. You know, they were not this elite,
Right.
what's another good word?
Snooty.
Yes.
So was Stuttgart the last stop in Germany before heading back to the States?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
And then you went to,
And we went back from Germany to,
I think you went to school,
yeah, I went back for,
University,
to
University of
University of
Illinois.
Illinois for a master's degree in structural engineering. And that was another 2-year assignment. And
and that's where Matt was born.
You know,
and,
I think it was,
and a third boy.
Matt was born there. I think it was a year and a half, Jim.
Okay,
But anyway, from there, we went to we went to,
Vienna.
not Annandale, Vienna.
we moved to
Vienna.
Vienna, yeah, bought a little house in Vienna.
And you know what? And at that time, you know Washington now, Virginia. The Greens lived, I think in Alexandria someplace, maybe
Yeah.
Wynwood at the time. And they said, "Where are you living?" "Well, Vienna." My God, that's out in the country. You know, it was far out. Now it's not far out, is it?
Nope.
My job was with the strategic planning group, which was housed in the old Army Map Service building. And I carpooled with a couple other people who lived in that part of the area to get over to the map service. And I remember going past this little corner called
Tyson's Corners.
Tyson's Corner, and there was Tyson's Chicken Farm there.
A gas station on one corner, a farm on the other corner, and
Right. And Tyson's Corner now is the center of a major
I remember
commercial
you-
area.
I remember you saying that you saw a sign out there that said land for sale.
Yes,
And
Too
your
bad.
reaction was, who'd be crazy enough to buy property out here in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
nowhere.
yeah, but you know, when we were there, really, when we were there, I mean, certainly when we were first married, and even when we went back again, and I think Vienna, I don't know about, maybe even Wynwood, Washington was, you could still get around fairly easily. And then when we went back after, I don't know, after you got there, whenever, I mean, it is a monster.
Yeah,
And I keep saying, you wanna know where your money is? go to Washington DC.
So a couple of memories I have. One is that the house at Vienna, that we had a little hillside in the side yard,
Yes,
and we had zoysia grass.
Yes.
And when the zoysia grass turned brown in the fall and winter time, you could get on a piece of cardboard and slide down that hill
Yeah.
on the dry grass.
yeah, I don't remember.
I remember
that.
you packing us kids in the back of the station wagon in our pajamas one evening to go to a drive-in,
Yeah.
and you got pulled over by the cops because you did a California stop.
He did?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something you'd remember, but it made a big impression on a
Well, I remember,
kindergartner.
well, I remember one time, and I don't think we were then in Annandale, I don't know where we were. But I had taken you three of you, to the clinic at Fort Myer?
No, Fort Belvoir.
No, not Belvoir.
Probably Meyer, yeah.
Is it Fort Myer or Meyer?
Meyer.
So on the way back, Route
Oh,
50,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
on the way back, police pulls me over. I must have been speeding. And I remember Michael leaning over saying, "Is my mommy going to jail?" And so remember, I got you came home that night, and you guys were all on Twitter because you knew I had this ticket. Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
You three did not know what your dad would say. And it was funny because he got the news, and then it was so funny because here's this pink slip, this ticket. Ticket, do you call it?
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anyway, it was a couple of weeks later, you had a pink slip on. You got the ticket. Maybe that was the one. Oh, gosh, funny. Lots of memories back there, right?
Yep. We lived on a cul-de-sac, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
There must have
Remember
been,
catching the bus on the corner to go to kindergarten.
was there a community pool there that you belonged to? I can't remember that. I know there
That was
wasn't
when we
In
lived
Waynewood there was.
No, that was when we lived in Sleepy Hollow Woods.
in Waynewood. No,
Annandale.
not Waynewood,
Annandale.
Annandale, yeah. That was a nice pool, a nice club.
So after Vienna was that Fort Belvoir?
Yes, went there for the advanced course, yeah.
And then after that was Korea.
Yeah.
And, but, so there was, I don't remember if it was when we lived in Vienna or Fort Belvoir, Dad, that you packed all of us up and took us to downtown DC to go on one of the last rides on the streetcars
Yes,
in DC before they shut them down.
I don't remember that.
yes, I do.
I do.
Oh,
And you'll be happy to know that DC is now spending millions of dollars to build a couple of streetcar lines.
I remember that
Just to
because
get people around town.
that the trolley ran on a wire in the center strip, and that was always an interesting thing to me. And the lines would go out to some place, come together, and then they'd switch the feeler wire and go back out again. That's that. Yeah, they got rid of that and went to buses, and
So what do you wanna do? You wanna go through all these assignments?
I'm just,
Some of the history of it. Some of the history of it now.
you guys can
let's
talk
see.
about, you can talk about whatever you wanna talk about. I'm
But
just
no, I
trying
was
to,
just thinking that after Korea, you came back.
well, he went to Korea and we went to the farm
Right,
yeah,
to stay with your parents.
right. Stayed in that little apartment where Lino and Jenny were above us, remember?
Yes,
And,
and we had a cat to catch the mice,
yeah.
and,
and we got to take the trash out and burn it in the burn barrel.
Pyromania.
that was out in the country. But after that, we went to Annandale, and we were there 4 years.
Mhm.
Yes,
And when I,
No.
you were there 4, I was there 3.
After Korea
oh, I'm sorry, we went to Detroit.
was Detroit.
Yes, you went to the,
I went to oh, the Lake Survey District.
That was it.
Yeah,
And we lived in
On
Chandler Park
Park.
Drive.
Yep.
Or I braided a rug
yeah,
and carried Kathy. Got pregnant with Kathy.
yeah,
And Matt went off, you and Mike were at St. Philomena. And Matt went into kindergarten.
yeah.
And I'll never forget, I watched him go down the street and you got there all by, I thought, oh my God, so you didn't walk him to school? I walked him part way.
I remember we were having a meal, it may have been Thanksgiving or something. Heard this terrible noise. And apparently there'd been a couple of kids drag racing down Chandler Park Drive. And one of them, a little sports car, ran right into a tree across the street from us.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, yeah, you bring that
And-
memory.
And you would not let us go outside
yeah,
until after they hauled the bodies away.
yeah,
And you did let us go out afterwards, and I remember there was blood all over the inside of that
Oh,
car.
yeah.
Might have been a good lesson of bad driving, who
I
knows?
can also remember one Saturday or Sunday morning when, I don't remember, it was Mike and I, or Mike and Matt and I, had discovered that you could take, if you took a roll of caps and put it on the sidewalk and hit it hard enough with a hammer, you could make a really loud sound. And we're out there just banging away at these rolls of caps, thinking it's great.
Yeah.
Me?
No, we were.
Oh,
The
God.
us boys were.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dad came storming out of the house. You kids get it. Apparently the neighbors had called complaining, not
Yeah.
surprisingly, complaining about us and told us to get inside.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, from there we went to Leavenworth.
Right.
short course. Yeah,
Not there.
Command
very
and
long.
General
I know
Staff
what-
College.
I know what it was. That's when we had a U-Haul to go down there because it was Christmas when we got there.
At Fort Leavenworth?
Yes, remember that, we had Christmas there and it got all this stuff in the back of this U-Haul.
I didn't remember the trailer, but I remember
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
there was a park across the street from the house. A park or a playground or something across the street from the house, or just down the street a little bit. There was also a place where we burned trash. I think I remember starting the field on fire behind the house one time.
And
Remember
then,
you had having a desk down in the basement. You're studying down in the basement.
and then from there we went to Waynewood, didn't we?
And the trip back from,
no, when we were in Annandale, I went to Korea,
no,
excuse me, to Vietnam.
not till the end though, but the trip back
Not
from
Vienna.
Kansas to DC occurred in the summertime. And you went and had air conditioning installed in our car.
Yes.
The
That's,
car didn't have air conditioning, and I guess in those days they made bolt-on air conditioning units for cars, and you went and had air conditioning put in the car, and that was a lifesaver on that
Yes.
cross-country trip in the summertime.
Gosh, I didn't remember that, but now I do.
yeah,
But we must have stopped to see your family, we must have stopped to see Aunt Helen.
yeah,
I think, Jim, we went home to Newburgh, and then you took off and went to Washington to find a place to live for us, to buy a house.
yeah,
And I kept thinking, oh my God, is he ever gonna find a place? I think it took almost 3 weeks. I remember it was
I
like a
don't
long
remember
time.
that long, but it took a while.
So I never had anything to say about this house. He bought this house and there we were,
Where, you mean the one in
Waynewood,
No,
No.
Sleepy Hollow Woods.
Annandale.
Annandale?
Sleepy,
I thought it-
Sleepy Hollow Woods.
Right, do you remember in the wintertime when it snowed and there was ice?
Oh, that street was fantastic for sledding.
Yeah,
It was great for the kids. Yeah, they loved it.
did you,
I can remember sitting, there was a hill off to the side of the house. And I can remember one time sitting out on that hill during the riots in DC, and you could see the smoke coming up from the city,
Yeah,
from where we were.
well, I was working in the Pentagon, and we stood out on the front steps and watched it burn, yeah.
Well, this was after Martin Luther King was murdered, you're saying?
It was, yeah, the riots of '68.
Oh, Lord.
And I can remember getting directions on how to get on the bus to ride down to the Pentagon so you could meet me and I could get my first ID card.
Yeah,
Oh, my gosh.
And
Is
I-
that where you became 13? And you looked at me and you said, Mom,
Probably.
I'm a teenager now. And I thought, what? What?
And yes, the pool was there. We
That was a nice,
walked down there every day in the summertime.
all right, that was really great. That
It
was
was.
very nice.
and, I worked in the Pentagon there for 3 years, took that bus in every day.
I remember going down to the Pentagon Officers Athletic Club a couple of times
Yeah,
to go swimming down there, probably in the wintertime.
You know,
And I can remember at the time that it was all men,
yeah,
and a lot of times they were swimming naked, which just struck me as tremendously odd as a young boy.
you know, I'm trying to think, you went off to Vietnam. Do you remember the Plunketts?
Yes.
Yeah, coming by in that little Volkswagen with their kids, and oh my gosh. We sort of supported each other through that. That was really tough.
It was.
But your dad came through, he came back.
And I can remember when you went to
Hawaii.
Hawaii to see him
Yes.
on R&R, and we got farmed out,
Yes, got them all farmed out.
and
You stayed with Uncle
I
Bill.
stayed with Uncle Bill. That was, I had a great time.
That was a blast, right, well,
And Bob James told me he ended up having to carry Kathy
Be
all the
around.
time on his shoulder.
well, she was pretty young.
Yeah,
She was what, 4? How did you get there by yourself to Ohio with a 4-year-old? Now that I think about it, you must have been in charge.
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
don't
what I'm.
remember how we got there. We must
We-
must have gotten on a plane. We must
Yes,
have
you
No,
got
flown.
on a plane.
you were on a plane, because I
Because
remember.
I can remember afterwards was actually, after that was actually hard for me.
Why? That's interesting, Jim.
Yeah,
Maybe because you lived in the luxury with Uncle Bill.
well, I think it was, Dad was not there, right? Dad was in Vietnam
Right.
and had a great time, with Uncle Bill and
Beverly.
Beverly, and
Larry.
it was just, party time, and then coming back, that was all sort of gone. I just remember that being a hard time, and I can remember looking longingly at airplanes flying by.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. And of course, I told you the story about when Dad returned and called me from, I think it was Seattle, that he'd be at National at a certain time. And I said, I put Kathy to bed, and I said, Jim, you're in charge, I have to go pick up the, no, we wanna go, we wanna go, we wanna go. And I thought, of course.
I've got to go.